ready to detoxify your mind.
Oh, yeah.
We're diving deep into the work of Walter Riso,
Okay.
a cognitive therapist who's challenging some seriously ingrained beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a recording of one of his talks.
Yeah.
He's speaking to a live audience and even takes questions at the end.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, what's so interesting is
Yeah.
how Riso takes aim at these cultural truths we've all been fed,
Right.
things we just accept without thinking.
Right.
And he explains how these can really mess with our minds using the principles of cognitive therapy.
Like that whole never give up thing.
Yeah.
Riso actually argues that sometimes knowing when to quit is a sign of strength,
Yeah.
not weakness.
Definitely.
And he dives into how saying no can be a good thing and why comparing yourself to others is a total trap.
It's all about recognizing those sneaky beliefs that might sound good on the surface,
Right.
but can actually hold us back.
I'm ready for some aha moments. Let's jump in.
So Riso starts by laying out this idea that our minds aren't perfect information processors.
He actually calls it cognitive economy, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like our brains are trying to be efficient,
Uh-huh.
but that can backfire.
Exactly. Imagine your brain as a computer running limited memory
Okay.
to keep things running smoothly.
Yeah.
It develops shortcuts.
Okay.
That's cognitive economy in action. Your brain prioritizing certain information over others.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does that make us cling to beliefs even when they're clearly wrong?
Well, think about confirmation bias.
Okay.
Our tendency to favor information that supports what we already believe.
Right.
Or the sunk cost fallacy,
Uh-huh.
where we stick with something just because we've already invested time or effort,
Yeah.
even if it's not working.
Yeah.
These are just two examples of how our brain's efficiency can lead to some pretty irrational behavior.
Wow, those cognitive biases really make you realize how much we're all on autopilot sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where those toxic cultural truths come in. Because our brains are wired for this cognitive economy.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for those early messages we get from society
Right.
to take root and become these deeply ingrained beliefs.
It's like those messages become part of our mental operating system.
Exactly. Riso compares these toxic truths to mental pollution
Wow.
that clouds our judgment and limits our potential.
And he calls out some really specific examples too, like be the best to be happy.
Right. He argues that this sets us up for constant comparison and competition,
Yeah,
which can actually make us miserable.
it can.
He points to research showing that true happiness comes from intrinsic motivation, from enjoying what you do, not from being the best.
That makes me think about all those times I've pushed myself to achieve something,
Yeah.
but the pursuit itself wasn't even enjoyable.
Uh-huh. And there's another big one he tackles. Never doubt yourself.
Which on the surface sounds like good advice.
It does. But Riso argues that healthy doubt is crucial for learning and growth. Imagine never questioning anything. We would be stuck with outdated ideas and never progress.
It's like if you never updated the software on your phone.
Exactly.
You'd miss out on all the new features and improvements.
He also challenges the idea that others must validate you.
Right.
This one can be a real trap, leading to a constant need for approval that can totally undermine your self-worth.
To illustrate this point,
Yeah.
he actually tells a story from his school days
Oh, wow.
about a teacher who gave students these awful, demeaning nicknames.
Ah.
He knew it was wrong
Yeah.
and refused to accept it, even though it meant facing consequences.
Yeah.
It's an example of what he calls responsible disobedience, standing up for your values even when it's uncomfortable.
That's powerful.
And I love that he brings in the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre,
Okay.
who talked about how we create meaning through our choices.
Yeah.
So if we let others dictate our values and beliefs, we're giving away our power to define who we are.
You got it.
And that leads us to Riso's big point about the 4 ways our minds are controlled because of these toxic truths. The first one is block inner vision.
So it's the idea that
Yeah.
we're discouraged from introspection and self-knowledge.
So instead of looking inward to discover who we are,
Yeah.
we're constantly seeking validation from the outside.
Exactly. And that ties into the second way we're controlled, blind obedience.
Which is about blindly following authority figures without ever questioning whether their directives actually align with our own values.
He even brings up the Milgram experiment,
Okay.
where participants were told to deliver what they thought were painful electric shocks to another person,
Right.
simply because a scientist told them to.
Isn't that the experiment where most people actually obeyed even though they thought they were causing harm?
It is, and that's a chilling example of how easily we surrender our autonomy when we don't cultivate critical thinking.
Oh, wow.
And speaking of conforming,
Right.
that's the third way Riso says our minds are controlled. Dragged along by the majority.
This one feels particularly relevant today.
Yeah,
With social media and the pressure to fit in.
absolutely. It's about how we easily conform to the crowd
Yeah.
and lose our individuality.
Mm.
Riso describes a social experiment where people in a waiting room would randomly stand up when a buzzer sounded on.
Okay.
For no reason, newcomers would observe this
Wow.
and start doing the same just because everyone else was.
That's fascinating.
It is.
And a little terrifying, to be honest.
It shows how much we crave acceptance and how easily we can abandon our own judgment to fit in.
And finally, Riso talks about crushed by conformity,
Mm.
which is essentially about resisting change and staying stuck in our comfort zones.
He uses a powerful analogy of a car stuck in neutral.
Okay.
We have the potential to move forward, but we're held back by fear of the unknown and clinging to what's familiar.
You know, it's like that saying, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Exactly.
Sure.
But the good news is that Riso offers an antidote to these 4 ways our minds are controlled, cultivating what he calls an immunized mind.
Okay, let's hear about this immunized mind.
Okay.
It sounds like exactly what we need.
Yeah. Welcome back to our deep dive into detoxifying your mind with Walter Riso.
Okay.
We left off talking about the 4 ways our minds can be controlled.
Right.
And now it's time for the antidote,
Yeah.
Riso's concept of the immunized mind.
Yes. I'm really curious to unpack this idea
Okay.
and see how we can actually build up those mental defenses.
It's about creating a mental shield against those toxic cultural influences
Right.
and limiting beliefs we've been discussing.
Mhm.
Remember, the immunized mind is built on 4 key elements.
Okay.
An empowered mind,
Okay.
an irreverent mind,
Uh-huh.
an individualized mind,
Yeah.
and a nonconformist mind.
Okay, let's break those down.
Okay.
What exactly does it mean to have an empowered mind?
It's about finding that sweet spot between introspection
Okay.
and engagement with the world.
Okay.
You're cultivating self-awareness,
Yeah.
tuning into your own thoughts and feelings.
Mm.
But you're also actively participating in the world around you.
So it's not about retreating into ourselves, but engaging with the world from a place of self-knowledge and strength.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that you have agency,
Okay.
that you can make choices
Uh-huh.
and shape your own experiences
Yeah.
instead of letting external forces dictate your life.
I love that. So how do we actually cultivate this empowered mind?
Riso emphasizes the importance of introspection,
Okay.
taking time for self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
This could be through journaling, meditation,
Right.
or even just having quiet moments to check in with yourself.
Mm.
It's about connecting with your inner world
Right.
and figuring out what truly matters to you.
He also talks about challenging those deeply ingrained beliefs that might be holding us back.
Yes. That's where cognitive therapy techniques come into play.
Okay.
It's about recognizing those unhelpful thought patterns.
Like those truths we were talking about earlier.
Right.
And actively working to replace them with more empowering beliefs.
It's like we're upgrading our mental software,
Yeah,
getting rid of those outdated programs and installing something better.
that's a great analogy. It's about becoming more aware of the stories you tell yourself
Okay.
and choosing to rewrite those stories in a way that supports your growth and well-being.
So once we've started to build that empowered mind,
Right.
what about the irreverent mind? That one sounds a bit rebellious.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But remember, it's about responsible disobedience, as Riso calls it.
Okay.
He's not suggesting we blindly reject all authority.
Okay.
It's more about critically evaluating which authorities deserve our respect and allegiance.
So recognizing that not all authority is created equal,
Right.
sometimes it's okay to question or even push back.
Exactly. True. Respect is earned, not just automatically granted based on someone's title or position.
Right.
And remember, questioning authority doesn't have to be aggressive or confrontational. So how do we go about being responsibly disobedient in a practical way?
It can be as simple as asking why
Okay.
when you're given a directive or told to do something that doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to seek clarification.
Okay.
It's about engaging in thoughtful dialogue and being willing to challenge ideas even when it feels uncomfortable.
I can see how that ties back to the empowered mind.
Absolutely.
Being in touch with your own values and having the courage to voice them.
And it also leads nicely into the next element of the immunized mind, the individualized mind.
This is the one that really resonates with me, celebrating what makes you unique and resisting the pressure to conform to societal expectations.
Yes, Riso argues that when we try too hard to fit in, we actually end up stifling our creativity and preventing ourselves from reaching our full potential.
It's about embracing your quirks,
Yes.
your passions, and your unique perspective, even if they don't fit neatly into a box.
Exactly. He encourages exploring your interests, even if they seem unconventional. And he cautions against comparing yourself to others,
Right.
which can lead to feeling inadequate or envious.
Yeah.
Instead, focus on your own growth and celebrate your own accomplishments.
That's such a good reminder. Comparison really is the thief of joy.
It is. And finally, we come to the nonconformist mind,
Okay.
the fourth pillar of an immunized mind.
Okay.
This one challenges us to question traditions and norms,
Right.
especially those that might be limiting or harmful.
So it's about recognizing that just because something has always been done a certain way
Right.
doesn't mean it's the best or most ethical way.
Exactly. It's about thinking outside the box
Okay.
and considering alternative approaches.
Mm-hmm.
Riso even suggests questioning seemingly harmless traditions,
Okay.
like rigid gender roles or social etiquette,
Yeah.
and asking whether these traditions are genuinely serving us or just perpetuating outdated ideas.
He's basically saying that true progress often comes from challenging the status quo,
Yes.
that we should be willing to shake things up a bit.
Now, it's important to note that Riso isn't advocating for reckless rebellion or disregard for rules altogether.
Right.
It's about having the wisdom and courage
Right.
to make those choices consciously,
Yeah.
based on your own values and principles.
So it's not about blindly rejecting everything,
Right.
but about knowing when to follow the rules,
Yeah.
when to bend them, and when to break them entirely.
You got it. And that brings us to the heart of what it means to have an immunized mind.
I'm ready for the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
How do these four elements work together to create a more fulfilling life?
Imagine someone who has cultivated all four of these qualities.
Okay.
They're self-aware and connected to their own needs and values. They're not afraid to question authority or challenge conventional wisdom.
Right.
They embrace their uniqueness and are comfortable being different.
Yeah.
And they're willing to push back against traditions that don't serve them.
That person sounds incredibly free.
They're less likely to be swayed by external pressures or societal expectations. They make choices that align with their true selves, leading to a more authentic and fulfilling life.
Yeah.
And because they've developed a strong sense of self and are willing to question the status quo,
Right.
they're also more resilient in the face of challenges.
It's like they're equipped with this inner strength and clarity
Yeah.
that helps them navigate the complexities of life.
And it all starts with recognizing the power of your own thinking
Okay.
and making a conscious choice to detoxify your mind from those limiting beliefs and influences that might be holding you back.
It's such a powerful framework for personal growth.
It is.
It's about taking ownership of your mind and choosing to create a reality that's aligned with your deepest values.
And it's an ongoing process.
Right.
You're constantly examining your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors, making adjustments as needed.
So it's not like a one-time cleanse, but a lifelong commitment to mental well-being.
Exactly. And while it might not always be easy,
Yeah.
the rewards are absolutely worth the effort.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in everyday life? How do we start cultivating these qualities of an immunized mind?
Well, there are many practical steps you can take.
We're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into detoxifying your mind with Walter Riso.
Okay.
We've explored how cultural norms and those sneaky beliefs we internalize can really limit our thinking.
Yeah.
And we've uncovered Riso's concept of the immunized mind as the antidote.
Yes.
Now let's get practical.
Okay.
How do we actually apply these ideas to our lives?
You're right. It's time to move from theory to action.
Okay.
Riso emphasizes that this is an ongoing process, not some quick fix.
Okay.
It takes effort and a willingness to challenge your own thinking.
Right.
But the good news is,
Yeah.
there are concrete strategies you can use to make this journey easier.
So where do we begin? What's the first step towards building this immunized mind?
Awareness is key. Start by paying attention to your thoughts.
Okay.
Notice those negative or limiting beliefs that pop up throughout the day. It's like becoming a mindful observer of your own mental chatter.
That makes sense, but sometimes those thoughts feel so automatic.
Yeah,
It's hard to even catch them.
that's true. Those thought patterns can be ingrained,
Right.
but the more you practice noticing them,
Okay.
the easier it gets. And once you're aware of those thoughts,
Yeah.
you can start to challenge them.
Okay.
Ask yourself, is this thought really true? What evidence do I have to support it? Is there another way to look at this situation?
So instead of just accepting those negative thoughts as facts,
Right.
we start questioning them.
Exactly. Riso suggests using cognitive therapy techniques to actually reframe those unhelpful thoughts.
Okay.
For example,
Yeah.
you could try replacing a negative thought with a more positive or neutral one.
Okay.
Or you could look for evidence that contradicts the negative thought.
That reminds me of something he said in the talk about toxic comments.
Oh, yeah.
He suggested developing a strong sense of self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
So negative comments pass through you like a bank of fog.
Yes. And that can take practice. He even recommends specific exercises to help people overcome the need for external validation.
So we're working on becoming less reactive to outside negativity, more in control of our own inner dialogue. What else can we do to cultivate this immunized mind?
Setting boundaries is crucial. It's about learning to say no to things that drain your energy or don't align with your values.
Right.
It also means protecting your time and space so you can focus on what truly matters to you.
That can be a challenge, especially for those of us who struggle with people-pleasing.
Yeah.
Or feeling guilty about saying no.
It's definitely a skill that takes practice.
It is.
But think about it this way.
Okay.
Every time you say yes to something you don't really want,
Right.
you're essentially saying no to yourself and your own needs.
That's a great point, and I imagine this ties back to that idea of responsible disobedience.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that you have the right, even the responsibility, to set limits and make choices that are in your best interest.
Riso also talks about being mindful of the information we consume.
That's so important in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with information from all directions.
Yeah.
News, social media, advertising.
It's a lot.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Be selective about what you allow into your mind.
Okay.
Choose sources that uplift and empower you,
Right.
rather than those that drag you down or fuel negativity.
It's like we're curating our mental diet.
I love that.
Choosing nourishing information instead of junk food for the brain.
And sometimes the best thing for our mental health is to take a break from all that input.
Yes.
Riso recommends spending time in nature,
Mm-hmm.
disconnecting from technology, and allowing yourself to just be.
Those moments of quiet can be so restorative.
They are.
Okay, so we're becoming aware of our thoughts.
Right.
Challenging negative beliefs, setting boundaries,
Yeah.
and being mindful of the information we consume.
Yes.
What else is part of building an immunized mind?
Self-compassion is crucial.
Oh, okay.
It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend.
Right.
It means acknowledging your mistakes without beating yourself up
Okay.
and recognizing that you're human, not perfect.
That's a powerful practice, especially for those of us who tend toward perfectionism or self-criticism. It's about being gentle with ourselves, right?
Exactly. Self-compassion helps to break that cycle of negativity and creates a much more supportive inner dialogue.
Riso also emphasizes taking action,
Yes.
not just thinking positive thoughts.
You're right. It's not enough to simply sit around and think about creating change.
Right.
You have to take concrete steps to actually build the life you want.
Yeah.
This means setting goals,
Okay.
making plans, and taking consistent action,
Mm-hmm.
even when it's scary or uncomfortable.
He actually reframes suffering,
Right.
saying it can be useful if it leads to growth and positive transformation. It's
Mhm.
like we need to embrace discomfort as a necessary part of evolving.
Exactly. And remember, failure is not the opposite of success.
Right.
It's part of the journey.
Yeah.
What matters is that we learn from our mistakes and keep moving forward.
So if someone is listening to this right now, feeling inspired to detoxify their mind, what's one concrete step they can take today?
I'd suggest picking one small area of your life where you want to create change.
Okay.
Maybe it's setting a boundary with a friend,
Mm-hmm.
challenging a limiting belief about yourself,
Okay.
or taking a break from social media. Start small and build from there.
That feels doable. Pick one thing and take that first step.
And remember, this is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
There'll be ups and downs along the way, but by cultivating an immunized mind,
Yeah.
you're equipping yourself with the tools and resilience you need to navigate those challenges and create a life that truly aligns with your values and aspirations.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into detoxifying your mind with Walter Riso.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found his insights as valuable and inspiring as we did.
Yeah, I think this is so important for everyone to hear.
Until next time, keep those minds sharp and curious,